literally 5 seconds, and then I will be 100% right.
All right, and we are live. Today is April 6th, 2020, and we are going to be talking with Rod Jimenez, the CEO of SHR, and Chinmai Sharma, the president of Americas with RateGain. Of course, I've got the one and only incredible Anthony Melchiorri here with me. Let's go to the official start of the show. Happy Monday, Anthony Melchiorri.
Hey, Monday. We're going to take a vote for all those people that think that video should be on before we go live. Please vote. For those people that think we should have it the way it is, please vote. I think we should do it. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you. If you're a fan of mine, I don't want Glenn to be out. So,
and I am going to tell you that Anthony's decision is incredibly wrong, and whatever he wants to do is not the right way to proceed in this situation. But we're not going to tell you who is on which side here. You guys are going to decide and let us know how we should start this show.
So today's Monday, and I had a moment. Everybody's asked me, "Hey man, how do you stay so positive?" And there's been a lot going on. Yep. Obviously, a lot of tragic stuff happened. I just my dear friend of my brother's passed away recently. Actually, this morning, I actually was playing poker with him just about a month ago in Atlantic City, and so, it just, I had a moment, and we all have our moments. And one of the things I've been saying over and over, 100% of the people have never dealt with this before. So, I had a moment. We all have them. So allow yourself those moments, and it's a new day, and hopefully things in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, hopefully we'll see a major improvement. But today is Monday, and we're going to have a good Monday, right there, Glenn?
Yeah, we are definitely going to have a very good Monday. And I got to tell you, Anthony, the weather started here to turn a little bit in New York. It's starting to get a little bit of spring, and with that gave me a little bit of positive energy. I felt we ended the week really good with our Feel Good Friday show, which we do every single week now, as we're doing these shows every single day at noon on both our LinkedIn pages, Anthony's Facebook page, our Checking In with Anthony Glenn all over the place.
It was one of my favorites because we had one of my favorite people in the world, Ruben, who's the voice of Family Feud, and he's all about hard work. And so go back and listen to it if you haven't listened to it. And me and him have a history together, and he gave me probably one of my best compliments I've ever gotten on Friday. I didn't know the story he told, so go back and listen to it. But it was a beautiful story, and it was a moment that he helped me and I helped him. That was long ago, and when we were just running hotels, and it was a great story. So, okay, Monday, fun day.
All right. So before we get started and bring in our guest today, I want to thank the good folks over at BarTech for once again supporting us for last week, this week, and next week, because they've been around for over 30 years, and they're many operations and have technological solutions to all in-room sales. And I got to be honest with everybody out there, it is a little weird that we're doing these marketing messages out there, but they're helping us out. They're making sure that we can continue to do what we're doing in this time of need. So I really, really appreciate them. Reach out to info@bartech.com to learn more about what they do, because one of the things that I see coming as this social distancing thing stays as part of our society for a while, I think it might be a good idea for you to be able to up those in-room sales and make some money that you might be missing out on the out at the bar. But let's bring in Anthony, our guest for today's show. All right, here they are. I was able to add them to the stream during that fun segment. We got Mr. Rod Jimenez, the CEO of SHR, and Chinmai Sharma, President Americas with RateGain. Gentlemen, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the country.
Hey, Glenn. How are you?
Morning,
Anthony.
We're doing great. We're doing great. How are you guys doing? If you could do me a favor, each one of you explain what you do in your position, because I think one of the things we've done on this show is we've kind of had a conversation, and we know who you are, but a lot of people may not. So why don't you explain exactly what your positions are, what your company is, and also if you could tell me where you are with your company in this, obviously serious situation. What changes have you had to make in the last couple of weeks to have your company survive?
And
so
Let's start with Rod, if you don't mind. And just so you
Hi.
know that SHR is my partners on the Hotel Tech podcast with their chief evangelist, Stella Hale over there. So I do want to thank them for that. That show's currently on hiatus while we go through all of this kind of stuff. But we do have Rod here today. Rod, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you guys do?
So SHR is in the business of helping hotels. We try to simplify their lives that are usually super complex, and we do that primarily with the revenue side of the house that has to do with central reservation systems, revenue management system, and a CRM. We're based in Houston, but we have an office in Barcelona and in Singapore. And as far as what we've been doing since this all started, like everybody else, it just seems like we're dealing with this very two-sided situation where on the one hand, things are moving at super fast speed, and on the other hand, things are moving super slow, right? I mean, we're all wanting things to go super fast in terms of the evolution of this crisis. And then at the same time, we're having to make decisions with very little visibility and in a very short time. So we've done a combination of what most companies have done out there, from starting with our senior leadership team taking salary reductions, and then the next layer of the company and the next layer of the company. And we've tried to limit our temporary layoffs to the minimum, although we've had to do some of that. And one of the things that we've taken on as a mission at our company is that those of us that are here wake up every day to fight to get through this so that the team can be back together again. So that's our new rally cry at SHR.
Excellent. Chinmai?
Yes, thank you. So I'm representing RateGain. RateGain is into travel technology. We're about 700 people across 10 offices. We've got 3 different verticals of lines of business: distribution, connectivity, pricing intelligence, revenue management, BI, and then guest engagement platforms, digital media, social media. So I'm based out of Dallas, which is becoming our global head office, and I'm part of the Americas leadership team, along with our global CEO and the CTO, who are also based in the US. So from our standpoint, we have the benefit of looking at the distribution activity across all major chains, thousands of independent properties and alternate lodging, and we could see these trends relatively early. We almost see it in real time. And even though we saw some slowdown in November and December, we had no idea that this is going to impact everyone the way it has.
Right.
So, so really interesting to see that how corporate travel suddenly dropped pretty much to 95% below previous levels, and the OTA started to slow down as well. But at the same time, I think it's encouraging to see that some South Asia and China activity has started to come out, and what we are calling it the new normal. So that's encouraging to see. So we're still seeing a few thousand reservations a month, but we also have the advantage that we used to see billions of shops and millions of transactions on a daily basis, and we're hoping that we get back soon.
So how bad did China get, and where is China now in the last, if you go back 6 weeks ago, they were in single digits, as I understand it, and where are they now?
Yeah, so majority of our transactions actually are US and international. China is not a big part of our business. We rely on some other partners to do that, but we definitely see those trends. And right now, they're probably about 50 to 60% below their normal before things started to happen, but that's still encouraging. So they're about 10 to 20% of activity pre-crisis, but the numbers are growing every day.
As soon as this happened, especially in the United States, what's the biggest mistake that you saw that hotels made?
Yeah, maybe I can go, and I'm sure Rod is closer.
Uh-oh. It looks like we lost Chinmai there, although that's a great spot to lose him in. Let's remove him from the stream and bring him back into the stream and see if that works. Chinmai, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, please continue.
Can you? Okay. No, I was just saying that Rod will probably have a few points here as well. What I was saying was that in the previous downturns, be it 9/11 or SARS or the financial crisis in 2008, I think a lot of us have learned from those mistakes. And I think the biggest thing is not to completely dry up your sales, revenue management, and marketing activities, and at the same time be ready for it when things start to come back, because they will. There's a lot of pent-up demand. Travel by its nature is such that it'll definitely come back. So I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is it's not a full stop. This will definitely recover to the same levels, or if not better. And within the travel industry, we're always diehard optimists. So I think my recommendation would be to keep the core teams alive and moving and get ready for the recovery.
Excellent.
Did you see that hotels? I'm sorry, Glenn. Did you see that hotel?
I'd rather hear from you. I got nothing good to say.
It looks like the first week we were all in shock and everybody just cut rate, and it went, from $400 to $12, it seemed. And now it seems, especially in New York, that the rates are kind of still low, but they're not dropping them, to $49. I think people got the message that you can't force demand in this time. Are you finding that people are kind of getting back to a little bit of a normal rate and not just trying to outdo their competition by dropping it from $400 to $15? I mean, it was ridiculous. I saw rates the first week at $39 for 4-star hotels in New York City. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, at least from our vantage point, we see data across millions of data points across different geographies, and I'm personally very happy that we haven't seen that rate spiral go down. So I think based on the previous downturns, I think the hoteliers have definitely understood that if there is no intent to travel, it doesn't make sense to drop rates, and you basically hurt your own profitability. So at least this time I've seen that rates are relatively in control. But I'm sure Rod has a point of view as well. I mean, he has access to a lot of hotels.
I'd like to hear Rod's point of view.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think we very early on in the process, we were in communication with our clients, reminding them that in an inelastic situation, the rate's not going to do much, right? When the demand goes away, you're just creating that race to the bottom. I think that, like you said, Anthony, things are at the beginning, it was just sort of a panic button type of reaction. And a lot of hotels may have gone in that direction, and then things kind of settle down. I think we're starting to shift the conversation very significantly to what happens on the other side of this. I do think that there is a huge concern on the side of hoteliers as to, once some level of demand starts showing up, then it's going to become very, very competitive. So it's this time and what hotels begin to do now that is going to really become very relevant in terms of how they do in the post-crisis scenario.
Right. That makes a whole lot of sense. We're already getting some questions. Should we jump right in, Anthony, to some of these questions that we're getting right there? I can't hear Anthony. Anthony, you have muted yourself.
Let's go.
All right. I'm glad we waited for that. All right. So, Chinmai, Rod, what about resort fees in Las Vegas? Do you think that they should be removed to encourage more people booking even from outside the USA once this thing gets past us? I know Anthony's a big proponent of hotels being able to pay their bills through sometimes that methodology, but I'm thinking outside even Las Vegas. You got these urban resort fees, you've got other fees, blah, 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 blah. What do you think is going to happen, and what do you think should happen? Rod, maybe we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I think, along the lines of what Anthony thinks, the need is there to pay the bills and make those hotels deliver what they deliver in a profitable way. So whether you call those resort fees or you incorporate those into the rate, I think it's a situation where on a case-by-case basis, each hotel or resort has to figure out what do I need to charge to be profitable and be competitive. And so I think that's the balance that hotels are going to try to figure out. And, you know, maybe from a marketing perspective, the removal of those fees on as a sort of individually labeled item on the list of what's included outside of a rate, maybe that has to be now rethought, especially in a, you know, however long that period is that's the most competitive. Maybe from a marketing perspective, it makes sense to remove them, but having done the analysis as to what the rate needs to be for it to make sense and for them to be able to provide what the guest is promised.
Right. We got a lot more great questions coming. And Chinmai, I want you to answer that one, but I do want to tell you, Anthony, that James Ortlieb says hello to you and saw you in Philadelphia a few months ago and you waved while crossing the street. So I thought that was important to get in there.
You know, it's so funny. Tell him, he's not going to believe me because I was there for a volleyball tournament. He's not going to believe this. I remember. I remember somebody waving to me and I couldn't get to them and I remember waving back. So, hi, and how are you? And he was walking. I think he was crossing in the middle of the street. So I didn't give him a ticket for jaywalking. But yeah, I'd like to add my comment to that. But if Chinmai, if you can go first, I'll go after you do.
And then I got a number of questions after that. We are rocking and rolling this morning. Everybody's feeling fresh and questiony this morning.
Yeah, so I'll be brief. I think my viewpoint is slightly different. I'm not working with hotels anymore, even though I have for a long time. And surprisingly, I've become more objective on these type of things. My point of view is that we need to do everything that we can to encourage travel. It's come down to a full stop right now. And be it an amusement park, be it airlines, be it hotels, we need to be super flexible. So this question about resort fee in Vegas, etc., was already being discussed even before the crisis. I think now's the time where we should be fully clear, first of all, in transparency on what's being charged, what's not being charged. And my recommendation would be that, there's a lot of ancillary spend. There's a bunch of other stuff that happens in Vegas where customers spend, and I would rather focus on those. So do everything that you can to get the ball rolling. Once we are near normal, then we can do pretty much whatever we want.
Anthony.
Yeah, and I agree with that point. And it's about value. So if you're going to have a resort fee, you have to give value. A free bottle of water, Wi-Fi, that's, in any 3-star hotel, that's complimentary. So there's got to be other values if you're a 4-star hotel, and personally, I really don't go to big hotels anymore because I go in and my incidental bill is $200 just to breathe. And so the 3-star hotels got it right. So I think the bigger hotels have to have value, but I've gotten this question for 20 years and I just want to kind of put an end to it because I was one of the first people to do a resort fee in the Nickelodeon Resort in Orlando. I didn't want to do it. However, the way, and everybody on this call understands this, but I don't want to do it. I never wanted to do it. I did it kicking and screaming, but I always say I don't make decisions. Numbers make decisions. And why you can't put it in the rate? If your competition has a $199 rate and you have a $199 rate, and now all of a sudden I'm going to put the resort fee into the rate. Now it's $229. So what does the competition do? The competition goes to $229. Okay, or the competition says at $199, and it says $199. Then what happens? Everybody's going to book that. So the resort fee is an expense-driven fee that we need to pay our static fees, whether it be electric, whether it be mortgage. And so that fee is built into a line item that helps us when we make decisions to keep the rates lower. Mm-hmm. So that's almost that's a line that really the guests shouldn't see, but legally you have to show it to them. Because you don't want to have, you don't want to surprise anyone, but you can't put it in the rate. And if you ever want to ask me that question every day as well, ask me that question. I can go into an hour conversation of why you can't put it in the rate. With that said, I don't like resort fees. I don't want to do resort fees, but as a business person, as an operator, I have no choice sometimes because if you look at rates 3 years ago and you look at expenses 3 years ago, they're not in line. Okay. Expenses are way out of control. And rates you're not able to push rates as much as you would like to. Occupancy has basically stayed steady, especially in New York City, but rates have gone down and our expenses have gone through the roof. So it's the way to keep the lights on.
Yeah, it sure is. I got a lot of thoughts on that, but this is not the venue for that today. What I do want to ask right
you're
now,
wrong and I'm right. So, because you never in a hotel, so keep your thoughts to
no,
yourself.
but I am a consumer, so as a customer, they offend me greatly. But we're not here to debate that today. Although maybe that'll be a good feel good Friday knockout drag out fight that we can have.
You offend me. You offend me greatly.
All right, Rod, let me go to you on this question. Does anyone have any thoughts on demand and its return compared to what we experienced during 9/11? Asks Mark Anthony Crimmy.
I missed the last.
Oh.
I missed the last.
Yeah, you froze up there for a second. Comparison to post 9/11, what do you think demand is going to be like?
Yeah. So one of the things is we went back and looked at our 9/11 post 9/11 situation, and it took from the day that happens, from September 11, about 6 months to come back to September 10th levels. Mm-hmm. I think that the difference back then was that we had a situation where the impact was short-lived, right? I mean, and there was fear afterwards. We all didn't know what was coming next. Was it safe to fly? Was it not? But I think the sentiment also was, let's get back to business, right? We had that going for us, that the whole country was saying, if we stop, we're letting the enemy win. So let's go out there, let's go on with our lives, let's go travel, let's go do business in person, and if not, we're going to let the enemy win in that sense. I think we've got a situation right now where, depending on how quickly this comes back, we may have a consumer that's going to be pretty, beat up financially, and that may be a limitation as to how quickly that individual traveler, the leisure side of the business, can come back versus what we saw in 9/11. I think that from that perspective, I'm thinking that what we're going to see is business coming back first. Mm-hmm. And because, again, as opposed to what we saw, let's say, during the financial crisis in 08, 09, maybe we have companies that, instead of being shamed for having conferences and holding big meetings offsite and all that now that's going to be encouraged and be lauded and celebrated for all of those companies that can continue with their conferences, that can begin to travel. And then the consumer is going to probably be coming back in a more drive-in sort of scenario, the closer to the destination part of the market. And I think, maybe we see those two sort of begin to converge and bring us back to some sense of normalcy.
So, Chinmai, I'd love for you to add what your thoughts on that, but also let's layer this on top of it. Another question that we have from our audience, Gary Cardona wants to know, do you think hotels will raise rates really high over the summer to make up for losses, knowing people will want to travel? So I guess ultimately this is a demand question. Anthony's already shaking his head. No. So, Chinmai, what do you think?
So just a quick answer on the previous question. I think what we're seeing right now, it's unprecedented. I think 9/11, SARS, etc., even though they were tragic events, they were still somewhat regional. We've never seen anything which is hitting anything globally like this. So this, in our estimate, is a combination of a few of those events all combined. And our thought process is that the new normal is going to take much longer time to come back, because, like Rod is saying, the consumer behavior itself is changing, corporate travel is changing, leisure travel will probably change a little bit to maybe more drive destinations, maybe a little bit of cut on long haul, more family, maybe alternate lodging might come up as well. So I think it's too early to say, but I think whenever I've spoken to leadership in the travel industry in the last few weeks, everybody's saying that the new normal will be a factor of what it used to be earlier. there'll be a big focus on cleanliness, hygiene, etc. Maybe there'll be more attributes in hotel content and lodging, etc., which will be given requirements. So those are like just some early thoughts. On the question of raising prices, not at all. I completely agree with Anthony. There's no way that you can charge premium right now because the intent to travel itself will not be as high. And I think we are in a survival mode right now. I think we need to get that whole machinery going. The airlines are going to come out later after this whole thing is done. They'll take forever because the planes are all grounded, etc. So I expect these things to take a long time, and high prices is definitely not one of them.
Right, Anthony.
Yeah, listen, this is about nuts and bolts business. This is about, opening up your business from scratch, basically, making sure your employees are taken care of, making sure that you take care of them now. So when we do open up, they feel motivated to be and respected. Number two, making sure that your hotel, your airline, everything is open for business and proper and ready, not rushed to go to business. I think people, like you said, there are going to be people that are running out their door to go travel. And those are people probably with a lot of disposable income, and they were the people that had to be mandated to stay in their homes. Those were the people still hanging out, going to the bars and the restaurants, and they'll probably be the first one out, and they'll be the first one spending money. But this is going to be a ramp up, and anyone that compares this to any other event that's happened in this country, I personally don't think they're paying attention. This isn't a local problem. This is a global problem. Almost every country in the world has this problem. So to feel safe again, it's going to take different people a different amount of time to do that. You ask me, I'm going to travel relatively quickly. You ask my wife, she's probably not going to travel for a very long time. Everybody is different. And so rate is going to be supply and demand. It's going to come back to that. But I think to your point, Rod, is corporations could do a real benefit to our industry once they do feel safe, is to spend that money to have these big conferences. The way this industry gets back to business is big conferences. Vegas, Chicago, New York, we need, because you can survive on a big conference, even if you're running 30, 40, 50% during the week or some weeks, and then you have a big conference and you're 80, 90%, at least you can get most of your employees or a good part of your employees back to work, reduce their hours, but get them back to work. So this is going to be, I wouldn't say a slow grind, but this is going to definitely not be a fast pace movement. It's going to be segment by segment, person by person, town by town. And the quicker we find that there's global testing and hopefully a vaccine not in too far future, it'll depend on the ramp ups. So right now I'm saying it's a slow to moderate ramp up at best.
Rod, I want you to answer that. But we also got a question from Marco Aroca, and he's asking, what about the markets that are dependent on meetings and conventions, and how long will it take for them to recover once things open? I know it's like really an impossible question.
Back to Anthony's comment, right? I mean, anybody that tells you right now that they know what this recovery will look like, they're not in reality. It's because of how unprecedented this is. I think that what we do need to do as an industry is to, like, again, echoing with what Anthony is saying, is be ready, right? And I think we need to start to begin to propose solutions as to how things look like to make that travel safe when those gates open up or begin to open up. I think, and again, this is all a guess, but I think it is going to be somewhat regional. I think it's going to be very, very gradual. Mm-hmm. And I do hope that we do have a huge push and a celebration of the shows that go on, the corporations that organize their big conferences, and that they get rewarded by the market for doing that. But on the hotelier side of the equation, part of the conversation that needs to be going on right now is, what does that look like? What do we do so that Anthony's wife feel safe going to a hotel, right? What does that experience look like? I think in the long term, we're going to see fundamental changes, right? With, no touch,
check-in
experiences, check-in, check-out, elevators, all of that. But that's all sort of infrastructure, and it's gonna take a while. But in the meantime, what could happen that puts us in a position to give a guest the sense that, hey, this is a safe place from a health perspective. This is what we're doing. This is what goes on when you come in, when you come out. This is what our procedures are today, and provide that sense of security and safety to the guests so that we contribute to the acceleration of that recovery.
Yeah, and if I can add, I think in terms of recovery, look at the segments, at least my feeling is that transient corporate will come back first, followed by leisure. And unfortunately, MICE and some of these large destinations will take a long time, because in any case, the booking window used to be 1 to 3 years for large events in various cities like San Francisco and Vegas, etc. And for them to come back, it's going to be a long process. But to the point that Rod and Anthony have mentioned, I think the travel providers and the local CVVs, etc., have to just come together and see how they can incentivize getting these things done, and then give the confidence to the travel organizers to say that we'll take care of everything. I mean, the duty of care, etc., will take a new meaning as well in corporate travel.
Well, I'm happy to say that people on both Anthony, people on your page are saying this. People on my page are saying this. They really think that there's going to be a surge of tourists coming back as soon as we are able to. They're citing China, returning because people couldn't wait. They were being flocked up, but they're also agreeing that it is going to be more of a regionalized effort. What you gentlemen were saying, Anthony, take it away.
To make it clear, our business is going to recover, and it's going to have greater gains than we've ever seen. But that is going to take a little while. So I am probably the biggest fan and the biggest cheerleader of this industry. There is zero doubt in my mind that this industry is going to flourish, and it's going to be greater and bigger than ever. So I truly believe that. Getting back to what we were talking about feeling safe, and it's not the big things, because we can't make people feel safe. What we can do is we can put things in front of them that make them feel more comfortable, and if that makes them feel safe, that's great. Like, I'll give you an example. An amenity package in the bathroom. If there's not a Purell bottle, a small Purell bottle in every single amenity package going forward, I'd be surprised. There should be. I'm not a spokesperson for Purell. There should be. If there's not a sanitizer, a canister near every elevator bank, that's a problem, in my opinion. I want you to be paying attention. And if the first thing that you say to me is, well, it's too expensive to do that, Anthony, screw you. I'm not staying at your hotel. This is about safety. Is it too expensive for locks on your doors? So this is a real threat. People feel really uncomfortable, and it's going to take a while. So those are the things that we can do in the short term to make people feel comfortable. So we have to worry about profitability. But listen, I don't like resort fees, but I'm a fan of them because that will help cover your cost to do things that make people feel comfortable. And that's what this is about. This is about not raising your rates and trying to just bring people for the hell of bringing people. This is about making people feel safe. Hospitality business, by definition, you're supposed to be hospitable and you're supposed to make people feel comfortable. So going forward, when we open, if we go back to our roots and we go back to the reason we got into this business, you'll do well. If you just open the doors and raise your rates and don't give a crap about safety and security of your guest, and now it comes down to having sanitizer everywhere, that's going to be a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you're not going to get my business, that's for sure.
Yeah, Chinmai, I mean, you're a tech person, but what do you think about these in real life type of things that he's talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan as well, and like I said, I've been a hotelier most of my life, so I completely agree with Anthony. I think these things will become the new norm. We're already seeing that the RFP process is already evolving now, and travel providers of large companies have already started asking questions that these are the attributes that we're looking for within the RFP process. So I agree. I think we have to be commercially sound. I mean, the costs in the hospitality industry have been going up, so we have to be conscious of that. But at least for now, I would say for the next 12 months, we have to keep it as easy as possible and get that confidence back.
So we're talking about putting elements within the rooms to keep you feeling safer through cleanliness. What can operators do in their online communications with getting their rates distributed or setting their rates or whatever it might be through their online channels to communicate those messages clearly to give people that sense of safety and security that they're yearning for right now?
If I can jump in first, and because from
you're the co-host, you can do whatever you want, man.
From an operations standpoint, being a general manager for 30 years, the first thing I would do, it's going to be touch points, there's going to be no touch points, is give people a small discount for having no service through their stay. So if they want towels, if they want linen, that's fine. We can drop that off. We can leave it outside their door. But if they don't want anybody in their room for a week, they're staying for a week, give them a small discount. That one makes everybody feel safer, and two, it'll save on your expenses, and you can have your housekeepers maybe doing other things around the hotel as opposed to just going in. Because again, you want to keep your housekeepers safe. You don't want them in 18 rooms if you don't have to have them in 18 rooms. So that's the first thing I would think, is really think about going to the model for a period as the hotel opens. And if you give me a 5% discount on that, I'm going to take you up on it, because to be honest, anybody in my room anyway.
Yeah, and to be fair, Anthony, you and I have been talking about this, and I've talked about this a lot, that the hotel industry trained people to expect daily maid service, but most of the people that are in my peer group that I hang out with, that I talk to, don't even want people to disturb them all of the times in the room. So to me, this feels like a no-brainer. Gentlemen, how do you all see these things?
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I think that the daily knock on the door, especially in this day and age when we're all trying to combine in-person meetings with online meetings, and then all of a sudden that knock comes in the middle of a call or whatever, and now you add to that feeling of, okay, I know that I've come into this room after it was sanitized, and I'm the only one that's been here for 3-4 days, however long my stay is. I think that's something that will become much more acceptable and used by the guest. To your question, Glenn, earlier about with regards to distribution and online, I think that the systems are there today to deliver rates to specific channels with specific features, and also add the key communications in there. And I think that the coordination between revenue management, CRM, central rest, distribution, it becomes much more important in this situation. I think there are things that can be done right now in this sort of period of time where we don't have the usual tyranny of the urgent that a hotel lives under, that to do things that we wish we had time to do under normal circumstances, auditing rates, really rethinking channels, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what made sense pre-crisis, what makes sense post-crisis, and then communicating those things to the guest ahead of time. I think that the more the hotel takes advantage of modern communications and how inexpensive that is, and if they have their database and they can access it, then if you're doing things like what Anthony's saying, they should know before they get there, right? And it should be a factor that impacts my propensity to book with a certain hotel, right? That it's okay, I see their rate, but I also see all the things that you're doing and the opportunities that you're giving me to sort of customize things that make me think, or maybe make me feel more safe while I stay at your hotel.
And that's a good point, because people, not only hotels, but people that want to get in front of hotel owners and general managers, whether it be the business you guys are in, or Bar Tech, or Cintas, or whatever business, Now's the time to get messaging out that helps people. Now's not a time to sell. Now's the time to get messaging out. So one of the things we've seen in our own sponsorships for our businesses, that people want to come on our show and want to be sponsors more than ever because they have a story to tell and they want to get that information out. What you just said is a commercial for the hotel community, because we need to impart our information from our companies that we do business with and that we need, but not selling. It's informing general managers. One of the things that I find right now across the board, I don't care if you're in this business 30 years or 2 years, is people are really confused on which way to go. They're afraid to make a decision. They're afraid to be transparent. And the more we're communicating that through, whether it be sponsorships or whether it be through this show or whatever it is, it's about getting information. I'm very uncomfortable when we were doing sponsorships during this period because now's not the time to sell. Now's the time to inform. But one of the things I've learned is we need to inform people, and people need to hear what the purveyors, what the providers are saying, but in a different way.
Well,
now,
I got
what you just said was perfect.
I got the perfect segue here. Speaking about what suppliers are saying, we've got one statement coming in from your Facebook fan page, Anthony, about will they supply cleaning supplies? And then on my LinkedIn page, Shuchi Vaya says they have a company it's a startup called Guest Box, and they're ready to provide the industry with wellness and sanitation focused boxes at cost to help people get over. I think that's an interesting idea in itself, to give people those supplies and that sense of control that they have, maybe along with that water bottle.
Yeah,
if
I can just add there, I completely agree. I think the in-room experience will definitely change. The focus on health, lifestyle, maybe more boutique hotels than big boxes, the change focus in food and beverage. And just like you mentioned, I think even companies like Pure, for example, who do filtration processes for rooms and meeting spaces, I mean, they have equipment now which can actually, take out things as small as COVID-19. So these things will definitely become important. On the larger topic of communication, I think it's important than ever. Right now, we have a social distancing, which is physical distancing, right? It doesn't mean digital distancing. And which is why I think the companies need to stay in touch. I think CRM is going to take another new angle now, because the likes and dislikes of people will become super critical important. And I think social media management, etc., is critical just so that we stay close to the customers and we are able to, provide their likes and dislikes and translate them into products and services at the unit level. So I think that the holy grail of the whole shopping process, right from when people start to dream, book, stay, and then go back on media, I think that'll become a lot tighter. And I think our recommendation to the industry is don't forget the basics, because this will definitely come back.
Anthony?
No, I agree 100%. There's nothing else I can add. I think that's I think we've beat that. But that's what it comes down to.
All right.
What other question we got there,
people are do you think microbial finishes will become a standard in the guest room? What do you think this is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen with, impact on project spending? I'm not sure all of those types of questions are right for today. I do want to let everybody know tomorrow we're going to have Chris Green back. He's the CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality on the show. He might be able to answer some of those questions. But Anthony, you want to give us some of that a step?
Yeah, I can answer that, but we'll answer that in a different, maybe after these gentlemen leave. One of the things I'd like to ask if I'm an owner of a hotel and I'm able to keep the bank, give me a couple of months. I'm able to live through this barely, and I open up, and now I've got to fight. And there's maybe no answer to this question. I have to fight. The door opens, people starting to come. From a revenue standpoint, a rate standpoint, from a managing all the channel standpoint, what's the number one thing that I should really concentrate on now, getting ready for the 90 days or 60 days or 30 days when things start going? What are the things I should be preparing for it comes to CRM, revenue management? Like, what should I be doing right now? I was petrified the first week we closed, let my team go. I'm kind of going through the process of mourning what happened. Now I'm kind of trying to ramp up for the 60 days. What's the number one piece of advice you can give a hotel owner? Either one of you can take that.
Well, yeah, that's a great thought, Anthony. And part of what we're dealing with in this scenario, and I don't know how long it'll last, but maybe it's part of the new normal, is that the cycles are shortened significantly, right? Like what Chinmai was referring to is like this cycle of, dreaming, planning, booking, the stay, and then the going into social media. Perhaps we're seeing that, that maybe the lead time to book is going to be so much shorter than before, and so that's kind of the scenario in which hotels are having to make decisions. And so from that perspective, one of the key things that I think hoteliers have to be doing after going through that process that you mentioned you have been going through is, okay, what are my key segments? What am I doing for those key segments? Where is my revenue most likely to come from? And in a world of limited marketing, then how do I deploy those markets? What channels are key for that particular segment? And then how do I communicate proactively, as we were saying before, to those segments? Hopefully a database. And I think that this is where hotels that have been doing a good job about managing their guest database are going to benefit now from the ability to be much more proactive. Then based on who I am as a hotel, then, and what I'm planning to offer, then just laser focus on that, because that's where your revenue is going to come from, right? And that may be different from hotel A versus hotel B.
Right. Good point. Chinmai, you want to voice your opinion?
Yeah, no, completely agree with everything Rod mentioned. The only things I would add is, in our data, we find something really interesting, that the usual suspects of activity have been New York, Chicago, Vegas, etc. And at least in the last few weeks, we've seen like very relatively unknown cities in the US come up on our transaction details. And that just goes to say a lot of these are capitals, because a lot of government-related spend is happening, travel is happening. So I think each and every hotel, depending on where you are, you should definitely be in close touch with the local authorities to see what business exists right now. And then after that, I think it's just a matter of preparing some broader framework that, okay, in pricing, we won't go below this. You need to have some guardrails, because otherwise, within a comp set, it gets very competitive, and it takes just one weak link to basically do other things. So I don't want to go. I mean, I'm not saying that we should set prices, etc. So delete that from the minutes. But all I'm saying is that you need to be conscious of what's going on, which businesses are moving, and it's really interesting to see that in our data, a lot of cities are coming up right now, and we're seeing a few thousand reservations. So there is some activity going on. And the other thing which we're saying is that Asia and South Asia, China will probably lead the recovery this time, because those countries have already been through the worst. So in terms of a distribution mix and a channel mix, I think all hotels should be looking at which channels make sense and spread your net a little bit wider, so that you get some benefit as travel starts to happen. And in our experience, we've seen that the coastal cities in the US will get that international benefit first. And then as and when it starts to bring the full thing back, then obviously domestic travel will kick off.
Right. I do want to say that Melissa Water says hello, Chinmai. So I just wanted to put that out there, Anthony.
I'd be interested, anyone in China in the hotel business podcast, if they're able to have somebody on to see how they're closed, it's opening slowly, and what they're experiencing. So any other questions there, my friend Glenn Haussman with 2 S's?
Yeah, more. We're getting more comments and stuff like this at this point, but really everybody says the need to understand demand and booking powers, forward business intelligence and analytics are going to be the key to that. And we had a question earlier, and Chinmai, you kind of touched on it. Maybe we could just get a little bit more answer on that one. Looking at what's going on in Asia, looking at what's going on in Italy, is there anything that American hoteliers could do that they're doing over there a little bit ahead of us that will better inform hoteliers here when we get to that place in a few weeks or whatever it might be, in order to make better decisions? Not to most eloquently worded thing, but I think Chinmai, you understand what I'm talking about. You're not.
Yeah, no, I do. I think the best thing is to, luckily, some of us who've been in the business long enough have seen the previous downturns, and it's not a mystery that occupancy will come first, followed by rate and RevPAR. And we should just be on the earliest signs of that recovery. I think something that has changed for the better compared to when the last downturn happened was it's a global economy. Everything is interconnected. So we should be watching what happens in China and Asia, etc., because it'll definitely impact us. So yeah, nothing more to add. But I think now the network of distribution, the tools that we have, the intelligence that we have, is a lot better. So you can see stuff in real time. And I think, like I said, I mean, staying connected to news and Glenn and Anthony, frankly, the kind of things that you're doing, I think these are critical to keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the fact that we're creating this community here and that we can all come together to kind of figure out these best practices for when we are on the other side of this, we'll all be in a better place. Anthony, any final thoughts before we let these guys go for the day?
No, thank you for your time. I know you guys are dealing with a lot, not only personally but professionally. So thank you for taking the time. This show is not successful without guests like you. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
For sure. How about some final thoughts from both of you guys? I don't want you to go out the door without having a chance to wrap it all up in a nice bow for us and make a great impression on our
tell people where they can find you as well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so we're at shr.global, and we've got a page specifically. With the rating.
Rod, you're gonna have to start your plug over. We didn't hear you too well. Please start your plug over.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I was saying shr.global, and there is a page there that we've been curating with information for COVID-19, just all kinds of resources that we see from all kinds of places. Like Chinmai said, I think you guys are doing a great job in terms of bringing the community together. I would just close echoing sort of what we've been saying here, that this is going to get better. We just need to be smart about how we are using the information and the benefit of having better data, better analytics today than in previous bad cycles, and just be smart about it and focus the efforts where they will have the biggest impact. I think as soon as therapeutics and a quicker testing become something that's a proving thing and that the public can rely on, that's going to be a game changer, and I think that'll mark the beginning of the recovery, and I'm just looking forward to more normal days, even a new normal, right? But I know, like all of you have said, this industry is resilient. We have a ton of incredible people that participate in it. And I think we're all itching to get back to serving guests and what the hospitality business is about.
Excellent. And I want everyone to know that we put up that web address that Rod just mentioned at shr.global on both Anthony and my LinkedIn feeds, and I'll get it up on the Facebook feed at ASAP. Chinmai, how about you give us a little summary there?
Yeah, no, thank you for organizing this. This was really good and insightful for me as well. Completely agree with everything that Rod had mentioned. Just a quick shout out. We are at RateGain.com, and we have a bunch of resources available. We have access to a lot of data, and we're actually offering free consulting to anybody who wants to get the latest trends on what's going on, inputs on revenue maximization, distribution strategy, etc. And we have 2 mini sites going. Glenn, I've sent you the links. One is
already on the screen. It's right there.
Awesome. Yep. So bettertomorrow.rategain.com. This is a bunch of resources, real time. It's not only us, it's also in partnership with different agencies who provide intelligence. And then there's another website which is called consultingforbettertomorrow.com, which is a bunch of our internal resources with some key industry folks who are just, this is a nonprofit activity, and we just want to give whatever we have to the industry. And like Rod mentioned, can't wait for this to get over and get back.
Excellent.
And also, before we end, I just want to make sure, I'll be saying this probably every single day, but we're all concerned about our families. We're all concerned about our businesses, obviously. I have a friend, and I'm sure many of you have friends that are on the front lines of this and are nurses and doctors and EMT and police officers and firemen and everyone else. But I have a friend that's in the ICU every day, and he's doing airway management. And that's really the only news I need every single day, because what he's going through and what those people are going through and what the families are going through and not being able to be there. I just want to do a big shout out. Yes, we're talking business, and yes, we're talking hospitality, but we understand we're all here in our homes, so you can be out there protecting us. So I just want to say a big shout out to everyone's on the front lines. So it gives us an opportunity to come back and come back stronger.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for saying that. And gentlemen, thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you guys hopefully again real soon. Take care, gentlemen. All right, Anthony. Wow. Another really good show today. People are really liking this one. They really think it's a good one. We're getting all sorts of positive comments.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought you were off.
That sounds about right. What else is new? Anthony, I just want to do a good thanks to Bartek, but also to other folks that are sponsoring us on some of our other things out there. We've got Porcelanosa. I know they have a deal with you. They sponsor the hotel design show that I do, with another episode coming up tomorrow on that particular series. Thank you to Cintas for sponsoring Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, as well as Red Roof, who sponsors my podcast, the great folks over at Almo Hospitality. They were on a show last week. I want to thank them for sponsoring the show, and all the others, such as SLX and Room in a Box and all of those kind of guys as well. Anthony?
Yeah, thank you. We can't do it without them. So especially now that we're all sitting at home. So I appreciate it. What other questions we can answer, Glenn, that are not related to what we just talked about?
Just whatever it was that I said before that I can't remember now. And now there's tons of scrolls that I can't go back on. Thank you guys for participating so much, but it's hard for me to keep track of absolutely everything. How about this one? Impact on project spending. How do you see that one?
Well, I think construction was just shut down. So construction projects are going to be shut down, at least here in New York. Listen, I think it depends on your cash flow. Listen, it's like a person, right? You can't work out if you're not healthy. You can't worry about what you're wearing if you're not healthy. So if you're a hotel, you have to start up, what's your health? What's your health like, right? What's your financial health like? That question answers that question. So I can't tell you if your cash flow is pretty deep, and not cash flow, but your bank account's pretty deep, and you're taking this opportunity as, hey man, I got plenty of cash. I'm going to outperform my competition when we open. I've been waiting for a breather. This is a bigger breather than I wanted, but now it's time for me to go in and do all these projects, get my team working, and I'm blessed to be able to financially be able to do this. Then yeah, it's fantastic. But it really comes down to your financial health and what you're able to do. But if I had the cash and I had a hotel that needed projects, I'd be projecting the crap out of it, because our industry is going to come back really, really strong. Period. End of story. 9/11. Though you were selling those condos, of course, from 9/11 from the World Trade Center, for what, 70 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And now you can't touch those things.
Right. Yep. Everything does come back. I think as human beings, we have a way of thinking that the moment that we're in right now is the only way it's going to be. And the way I equate it is, Anthony, I've always seen in the hospitality industry with all the executives, whenever in the best of times, they feel like they're never going to end. And when we're in the worst of times, they feel that we're never, ever going to have good times again. So don't get caught up in your head about where you think we are today as much as, where you think we're going to be going.
And also, please go to Hospitality Success on Facebook. We're a community where we're helping each other. We're actually having a live telecast tomorrow on that platform. Only the people that are on that platform will be able to do it, and we will be answering any question. Me and Jeremy will be answering questions. Glenn, I'll get you the time if you'd like to join us. I'd appreciate it.
I would, because someone's got to ask you ridiculous questions that catch you off guard.
That's correct. And I appreciate that. And also, Catch me at Anthony Hotels. I'm doing more social media content I've ever done in my life. So at Anthony Hotels, ask me any question. And listen, and you'll see by a lot of the answers I'm giving privately, DMs, I don't have the answers to everything. And a lot of it is wait and see. And a lot of it is stamina. I just gave this advice to somebody that's very close to me. And I was like, you have to have stamina. And this morning I was telling Glenn, I had a moment and I was like, wow, I need some stamina here. I got to reset myself. I'm thinking like it's sunny out. I'm hearing things are getting slightly better in New York City. It's kind of peaking, and I'm like, okay, but this is still a long way to go, and we're pacing. So stamina, it comes down to stamina and mindset. So, all right, Glenn. So good luck and God bless you, brother.
I want to thank all of you guys out there for being here today, and be sure to text the word hotel to 66866 to get our Sunday night newsletter. It gives you a roundup of all the content that we put out there this week, plus other stuff that you're not actively seeing here. Man, Anthony, this has been such a good show. I look forward to tomorrow's show. We'll be back here at noontime tomorrow. And I think we're going to be focusing more on heavy-duty rate management tomorrow out there. So I know we've talked about, Anthony, about how don't drop your rates precipitously because you're not going to be able to drive demand. Tomorrow, we're going to get a little bit more into the nuts and bolts about what people are thinking and what people are doing in the short term while preparing for the long run.
Peace.
Yeah, man. Peace out. And thanks to you guys for listening. We will see you tomorrow. We'll be back here at 12 Eastern Daylight Time. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you then.